Margarita pork roast. We're going to start with some fresh lime juice. And I think one thing when it comes to making pork, if you have the time to marinate it, it really adds a lot of great flavor to it. So this is one of those make-aheads. If you started it this morning, you could actually cook this roast tonight and it would be full of flavor. If you've got 24 hours to marinate it, even better, just even more flavor. So I'm going to start with some fresh lime juice, about 1/4 cup. And I noticed right away that both of these limes, all of the limes, seem a little bit hard and they're going to be a little bit tough to get the juice from them. Sometimes you'll pick up a lime and a lemon and they're just nice and soft and you know they're going to juice easily. Both of these seem like it's going to take a little bit of muscle. So instead of doing, using all muscle, you can kind of push down on it with your palm to get the juices flowing. But a quick tip that actually you guys turned me on to is to get these limes in the microwave for just, 10-15 seconds, and that'll just kind of get the juices flowing and make it a lot easier to juice these limes. And I love it when you guys give me your tips. There's just, they're great. Anything that you can do to make your life and making dinner and being in the kitchen easier, bring it on. Okay. So our limes already, I can feel that they're going to be a little bit easier to work with. And then I happen to love this gadget. It's not anything expensive. It's just a wooden tool that I've been using for years and years. I don't have a fancy lime juicer, but it just goes right in there and really gets that juice out of that lime. So we need about 1/4 cup. These are nice and juicy. I may just have to do one more. They're big limes. Sometimes you'll just get the little guys. But I think one whole lime will do you for this recipe, if it's a nice size one like this. And this is going to give that pork some great flavor, and the acid in that pork is also going to make it nice and tender. Great little tip is when you've got a little bit of a lime or lemon, instead of always throwing them in the garbage can, like something like this, throw that in the disposal. Just makes your disposal smell limey fresh. Great little tip. Okay, so I've got about 1/4 cup of lime juice. I've got 3 cloves. Don't need you. We'll use you for zesting later. 3 cloves of garlic that I'm just going to give a rough chop to. It's a real simple marinade, not a lot going on. Jarred garlic would work great here too. Even easier. Oh, that pork roast. Deb, how good does that smell?
It smells wonderful.
I know. I'm excited about it. Okay, so fresh lime juice, fresh garlic, 1/2 cup of olive oil or canola oil or vegetable oil. Whisk that together. And now for the margarita part of this recipe, we've got some tequila. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, but about 1/2 cup. Ooh, that smells good. Okay, my favorite way to marinate is in a big Ziploc bag. This happens to be one of the real big ones, about a 2-gallon size. So this is my pork roast. I'm using actually a pork loin roast, a boneless pork loin roast. It really works nicely for this recipe. A pork tenderloin roast would also be fine, but this is the roast of choice for this. Real reasonable, very lean, as you can see, and it will serve a crowd, and not real expensive. Okay, so I'm going to, thank you, Deb. Get that marinade in here. This is why I like using a Ziploc bag, because it keeps all the mess right in here. If you don't have a Ziploc bag on hand, or you choose not to use one, real important to always marinate in a glass dish or a plastic dish. You'd never want to marinate in like a foil roasting pan or a metal roasting pan. Okay, so into the fridge this goes, and you want to let this sit in the fridge for about You know, if you've got all day, that would really be the key, you know, to really get that flavor in. Even better, as I said, 24 hours, and that tequila and the lime juice and the garlic, it's all really going to get in there and flavor up that roast just wonderfully. I want to check on the roast that we have in the oven. Oh, ooh, it's pretty. And I want to get him out of here. And I want this roast to rest a little bit. So I want to pull him now, tent him with some foil, and we are going to get back to you. I think pork has a tendency to really dry out. We've all had that pork roast that was just a little bit too dry. This foil is almost out. This one is good. One of the reasons for that is we overcook pork. The other thing that really does help with making pork moist is marinating it. But the other thing is that we rush to carve into a pork roast right away when we bring it out of the oven, and it's so important when it comes to really any kind of a roast, beef roast, pork roast, whatever, that you basically, you know, let it rest, and that way all the juices stay in there. So there you go. Okay, cover this guy up. Let him rest a little bit. And now I'm going to make a rub. After that roast has been in the marinade for up to all day or even up to 24 hours, you're going to take it out of your Ziploc bag, and all that flavor is going to get in there, and get it into a roasting dish. Roasting pan, I guess I should say. And we're going to put him fat side, whoops. There we go. Fat side down. Thank you. And we're going to make a great rub that's going to really give this roast even more wonderful flavor. So we're starting out with a tablespoon of oregano. And a lot of people think oregano is just used for Italian cooking. He used a ton of oregano in Mexican cooking, so it really works nicely with this roast. I have a couple tablespoons of chili powder, a pinch of cayenne pepper, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, a quarter of a cup, now this is kind of interesting, of brown sugar. And I decided to use that because, you know, when you ever go to those rib cook-offs and they're cooking pork and people are making their own rubs, you'll usually find some sort of sugar in those rubs, and it really works nice with the spices. You know, you've got a little, you know, this show's all about spicing things up a little bit. So you've got those great spices, the oregano, the chili pepper, and a little bit of sweet really is going to be nice, and it's going to form a nice crust on this roast. So I'm going to mix that all together. And when we were making this, Deb said to me, "Boy, that's a lot of rub. Do you want to put all that rub over this roast?" And I said, "Absolutely," because that's what they do, and that's why the pork ribs and the pork roast that they do down south and at the barbecues are so wonderful, because they do season them very, very generously. And now I'm going to take some lime zest, just to put some more of that Margarita kind of lime flavor in here. I'm using my old microplane. You know I love that. And just zest up that lime a little bit. Tap the back of the microplane. And that gets every little bit of, oh, does that smell good. Add that rub, or that zest, into the rub. And they call it a rub because basically you're going to use your hands to rub it in there, pat it on. Put it all over that roast. You may want to foil line your pan and then spray the foil with some cooking spray if you don't want to deal with the mess. Okay, now at this point, this is going to get into a preheated 350-degree oven. Every oven is different. We ended up having to crank ours up a little bit hotter than that, but it's going to take about an hour. So this is a big piece of meat. This is about a 3-pound, I would say, pork loin roast. So it just depends how big your roast is. The really key thing when it comes to cooking any big piece of meat like this, especially when it comes to cooking pork, is to use your instant read meat thermometer. You want to pull this out at about 150, and then, as I'm doing over here, it'll continue to carry over and cook, and the temperature will continue to rise. So this is going to go bye-bye. And we've let this guy rest and come to temperature. And look at that crust. That's what that rub does. You can see the lime zest in there. And then the pork has so much great flavor too, because basically we marinated it. So we have a lot of great stuff going on. People are gonna ooh and ah over this one. So I just wanna get it to the cutting board and carve it up for you a little bit. And I think you can see how juicy this is. Wow, oh Deb, this just is perfectly done. Yeah, and it just, look at how easy this is to cut up. And you're gonna have that great crust with a little bit of spice and a little bit of sugar. Temperature is perfect. We did not overcook it. This is a winner. I think this is gonna be a new favorite. Yeah, yum, I know. So I like to kind of take the large piece of the roast and then just kind of lay the other pieces a little hot. Just kind of to make it look pretty. Look at that. Wow. There you go. And you can garnish it because it is a Margarita pork roast. It's fun to kind of put some, you know, let everybody know what it is. Garnish it with a few slices of lime and even serve it with some lime wedges just to squeeze a little, you know, they do that a lot with Southwest cooking, is just to squeeze a little bit of fresh lime juice, you know, over the top of the meat as you take it to the table. And there you go. This is a winner. It's delicious, easy, wonderful, lots of flavor. Get out of that recipe rut and make my Margarita pork roast.